The story of Roanoke did not begin with disappearance. It began with ambition. In the late 16th century, England looked across the Atlantic and saw opportunity. Spain had already built a vast empire in the Americas, filling its ships with gold, silver, and resources from lands Europeans barely understood. England wanted its share of the New World, and one man believed he knew exactly where to begin. His name was Sir Walter Raleigh. Raleigh convinced Queen Elizabeth I to support an English settlement on the distant Atlantic coast of North America. The colony would become England's foothold in a new continent, a gateway for trade, military power, and future expansion. On maps, the idea looked simple. In reality, the settlers were preparing to sail into a world they knew almost nothing about. The chosen destination was a small island off the coast of present-day North Carolina called Roanoke. At first glance, it seemed ideal. The island offered access to the sea, nearby forests, and strategic protection from foreign enemies. But appearances in the New World could be dangerously deceptive. The surrounding waters were shallow and unpredictable. Storms could arrive without warning, and food sources that seemed abundant during exploration often disappeared when hundreds of mouths depended on them. The first English groups that arrived quickly discovered that survival was far harder than anyone in London had imagined. Supplies spoiled faster than expected. Crops struggled. Hunting and fishing provided less than promised. Every passing week pushed the settlers closer to dependence on the local indigenous communities who had lived in the region for generations. Among these communities were the Algonquian-speaking peoples who understood the land, the seasons, and the dangers that outsiders could not yet see. At first, exchanges between the English settlers and local tribes included trade and cautious cooperation. But trust in unfamiliar lands is fragile. Misunderstandings grew into suspicion, and suspicion slowly hardened into hostility. The colony that was supposed to become England's great triumph was already showing signs of collapse. Yet abandoning the dream was unthinkable. England had invested money, prestige, and national pride into Roanoke. Failure would hand victory to Spain before the real contest for North America had even begun. The settlement had to survive, no matter how difficult the conditions became. Then, in 1587, a new group of colonists arrived. Unlike earlier expeditions filled largely with soldiers and explorers, this group brought families. Men arrived with wives. Parents brought children. Among them was Governor John White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who was pregnant during the voyage. The message was clear. Roanoke was no longer meant to be an outpost. It was supposed to become a permanent home. Just days after arriving, Eleanor gave birth to a daughter named Virginia Dare, the first English child born in North America. For a brief moment, the future seemed full of promise. A new generation had arrived in the New World. But hope can disappear faster than supplies. Food reserves were running dangerously low. Relations with nearby tribes remained uncertain. The settlers desperately needed tools, equipment, and reinforcements from England if the colony was going to survive the coming winter. There was only one solution. Governor John White would have to sail back across the Atlantic for help. The decision was meant to save the colony. Instead, it may have sealed its fate. As White's ship disappeared beyond the horizon, 117 settlers remained behind on Roanoke Island, waiting for the governor to return with supplies. Most believed they would see him again within a few months. None of them knew they were beginning one of history's greatest mysteries, because John White would not return for 3 years. And when he finally did, the colony he had left behind would no longer exist.